morning, Tuesday morning. It's going to be a hot day, but here we are, Money Truth Moments. I am your host, and I'm here with our very own Judy Copenbarger. How are you, Judy?
I am awesome. Good morning to you. I'm looking forward to an amazing week. I'm ready to go. Good to see you, Carlos.
You too. I'm so excited about today's show. We are continuing on this journey talking about creating money reverence. Folks, if you're just joining us for the very first time, welcome. Please make sure that you follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. All of her social media links are on there. There's also great resources available for you on her website, but I won't tell you about that just yet. We'll wait a little bit later on because I really want to jump into what we're talking about. Last week we started our journey down creating money reverence. We had some great discussions. So if you haven't seen the show, make sure, or you're new to the show, make sure that you watched last week's episode so you can follow along in what we're talking about today. So with that said, what do you say we get started?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. So one of the things that came up was when we're talking about creating money references, what about teaching the entire family to honor the power of money? What does that look like? The mindset that shapes your family legacy.
Yeah. Boy, that's a loaded question. Well, we have talked a little bit about what money reverence is. And if you just look at the word reverence or revere, it's to honor something, to respect someone or something or someone. So when you honor something or you respect something, you hold it in high esteem. You take your time, you're intentional, you're investing yourself, like in a relationship, you're investing yourself, you're learning about something. So that's what the whole reverence is. So why would we not want to honor and respect money? Like personify it, right? Give it a personality. Because it's one of the tools that almost every day of our lives we're using, whether we're thinking about it or not. We're making expenses. A lot of them now are automated. Maybe in your bank account, you don't really see it, but they're there. We have expenses that are automated, and then we go to the store and then we buy gas and we pick up stamps, whatever it is, stop off for an ice cream cone. There are things that we're doing every day with the ebb and flow of money. So how do we revere money? How do we express money reverence in the context of a family? Well, you've got to have conversations around that, right? If you have older folks in the home, maybe you're a blended family or you have an extended family and you've got aunt or uncle or grandparents in the home, mom and dad are in the home and you're already starting your family. Or you've got children and you want them to learn how to revere money, how to just manage it well and have money not be a burden, but be like a blessing in their life. How do you do that? And I think the big thing is just to get the mindset right, but start early and have frequent conversations, like do it together. How you do life together with people, you do money together.
So Judy, clarify something also for us, because I know that there are some folks that are also a little bit confused when it comes to us honoring money, right? We're not saying that money is God and all of that. Can you clarify that a little bit, please?
Yeah. Well, some people get into trouble. There's a little too much honor, a little too much respect. Maybe it's more like, money is the be all. If I have that, my life will work. Well, you need more than money for your life to work. I know plenty of wealthy people that money has not been something that optimized their life. It's actually been a hindrance or a burden for them. And you hear stories out in the news all the time about celebrities or famous people, athletes, whatever, that got too much too soon. And they're very wealthy, maybe for a short period of time. They have a lot of money or perceived to have a lot of money. And then all of a sudden they're in trouble. And maybe they're in trouble because of an addiction. They're in trouble because they're broke. They're in trouble because their family relationships aren't working and they just can't keep any relationship together. Maybe they're not stable in their employment or not stable in their career or their mission out there in the world. It's just really sad, but it's not money that does it to them. It's also not money that makes people happy. It's how you use it. It's what you use that tool for in your life, with your relationships, with your health, with your purpose in life that makes all the difference. Did I answer your question?
You did. And actually, as a matter of fact, if I may add an additional question to that as well, too. So you brought up a very good point. There's folks that all of a sudden come into a lot of money, whether it's an inheritance, whether it's for whatever reason, and they're not used to all of that, right? So while we're talking about it, I know that we've discussed this in previous shows and all that, but while we're on the subject, what are some key takeaways or things that you can advise folks in those types of situations when they come into money all of a sudden, they don't know, what to do with it,
Mm. Yeah, well, too much too soon, right?
Right.
I think when people aren't prepared, they're very beholden to or subject to predators. And there are predators out there that just smell money. They smell wealth. They smell that lack of confidence that people have around that, or fear that they have around money or money management. And they just gather around and they kind of follow the money. They're like the ambulance chasers at the hospital, right? The attorneys that just can't wait to sue. But it's like they're looking for anyone who has money and the lack of confidence to manage it. And they seek them out, whether it's an inheritance or a lawsuit that you won, or lottery winnings. There's all kinds of ways that people just kind of like all of a sudden, that great uncle that you never really knew, and all of a sudden he didn't have kids and now you've got all this money. So when people get too much too soon and they're not prepared for it, they're very susceptible to predators and predator behavior. And sometimes predators aren't who you think. It's not always the guy in the black suit and skinny tie that shows up with shiny shoes on your doorstep and knocks on your door and says, "Hey, I got a deal for you," right? In Texas, I've got waterfront property. Well, no, Texas wouldn't work, but waterfront property in wherever, Nebraska, one of those landlocked places. But it's not just those people. Sometimes it's well-meaning relatives. Sometimes it's a really nice banker or someone who sells securities or insurance products or whatever they sell, investments, gold, whatever it is. And they just become your best friend, and they got this deal, and it's the one deal and not everybody knows about it. It's ground floor opportunity. Any of those words should be red flags. Run the other way. If the deal is too good, if they're pushing too hard, if they're putting you in a hurry, it's going to be a bad decision. It's not going to be the best decision for you. So if you have any sense of that urgency or any sense of you got to do it right now, and we're the ones that are going to help you, and it's exclusive, nobody else knows, that's not going to end well. So run away from those things. A little bit more subtle are the relationships with some wirehouses and broker dealers and even banks. People that there's great ones out there. It's just like any industry. There's great ones, and then there's some that just really aren't. And the problem with some of these people offering financial services is the system is so rampant with built-in conflict of interest. The person that you're talking to about your money, the person who's helping you with your wealth, work for someone else. They might work for themselves. Obviously, they need to make money, but they also work for a company that probably has pensions they have to pay out. They have shareholders they need to answer to. They need to make a whole lot of money off your money. And if that's their big interest, if that's their big push, and that's the perspective they're coming from for the advice they're giving you, that advice might not be the best for you. It might be the best for making money for someone who's not you. Know what I mean? So you got to really watch out for that. That's a little harder to discern because, you go to the bank to talk to people about money. That's what bankers do, right? But just be careful out there. The banks have really become a sales system. So when you walk into the bank with money, they're going to want you to talk to the loan people. They're going to want you to talk to the CD people. They're going to want you to talk to all the investment people. They're going to want to open other bank accounts. They're going to find out if you have businesses, and you should have all the business money here too. It's really about their business model, which is fine, but you just want to know that going in. So hopefully that's helpful. Just watch out for predators if you get a bunch of money all of a sudden. Educate yourself, use resources to just learn the basics so you at least know the questions to ask and you won't become a victim.
I really appreciate you taking time to really explain that, because I think it's very important as we're talking about this, because this also creates, this really breaks families apart too, when you don't know really what you're doing and you don't have the right person to turn to and all of that. And folks, thank you for just joining us. If you're watching, please make sure that you follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. And speaking of resources, let's talk a little bit about your website. So folks, when you visit judycopenbarger.com, there is there's a wealth of resources. And the most important thing, not only for the wisdom you're going to get out of it, but guess what? It's free. Tell us about your website, Judy.
Oh, there's a wealth of resources. I cut
You got that. I like that.
Yeah, there are all kinds of free stuff. I've been doing this a long time, helped a lot of people, still do, but I really want what I've learned to be able to be available for anybody who's looking for it. And I know a lot of people are looking for just good information. So I put that together. I've got YouTube videos on every financial subject you can imagine. There's lots of them. Some of those videos are loaded on judycopenbarger.com. You're looking at that right now. So you can go to that website and watch videos on many subjects. There are articles there. There's also a link there that gets you into the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. And that's a whole course. It's a whole graduate course in financial stuff. So it covers all the 5 pillars. You can go on there and take a whole course. You can take just classes, everything from, stocks and bonds and all the different kinds of life insurances, universal and whole life and indexed insurance and permanent and temporary and term life insurance. What is all that, right? All that's on there. So you can learn enough to know when you're talking to an insurance person, what kind you need to ask about and how much did you have and what's right for your family. So you'll get to learn the basics of all that, not from a perspective of you're being sold something by whoever you're going to talk to next, but just so you know the basics to cover yourself, navigate well, right? It talks about every kind of will and trust and all the different kinds of trust and provisions there. Powers of attorney, what kinds there are, how should you use them, when do you need them, do you need them at all of that. And then all the investments, what should I be doing with my 403b or my 401k, and what is a rollover, what's the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. I hear those words, but what's the difference? Well, this is where you can learn all of that. So right now you can go to Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program, and you can click in and you can get 7 days free classes. So take any class you want, take several. If you have time to take several, take notes, by the way, record it, whatever, and really apply that information to your life. Maybe you're getting ready to do something financially, or there's a transition coming up for you. You're starting work, or you're retiring, or you're moving. Maybe there's a liquidation event. You've sold a business, or you sold a second home, or you're about to buy a home. So when those transitions happen, if you're equipped and know how the money's going to come in and go out and all the options around that, taxation, there's a whole course on taxation and all the kinds of taxes that apply to you and how to mitigate those taxes, how to eliminate some of those taxes just by knowing they're there and planning accordingly. Lots of things that you can do. So that course is available for you right now, 7 days for free. You don't even have to subscribe. You can go in there and sign in and watch whatever you want. And I would love to hear your feedback. It's so much fun, and it's starting to be a little time consuming, but I love it. It feels like this is part of my legacy, for people to get these concepts and apply them and then share how it helped them avoid a mistake or correct a mistake financially. Some financial mistakes are very difficult to recover from. They take a long time, sometimes years, to build back from a financial mistake that could have been a little mistake, but big impact. And so to be able to avoid those or to build back from those and reboot financially is awesome. So please share what you've learned or which part of the course impacted you the most. I'd love to hear about that and hear about your family.
Excellent. Folks, and again, thank you for joining us this morning. We are speaking about Money Reverence this morning. It's a continued series of what we've been talking about. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you didn't catch last week's show, I would highly recommend that you also catch up a little bit on it so you follow the sequence that we're doing on here. So let's move on. We talked a little bit about, we asked a question about money and reverence. So now let's move on to can a biblical perspective on money and its use actually guide your life? I know that's a deep question, so I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, the question really is, where do you get timeless wisdom? There's some things that work around money, and they always have, and they always will. Thousands of years ago, they worked. 1,000 years from now, if we're still here, they work, right? The basic principles around money, using it as a tool, dealing with the relationships, leveraging it, earning it, growing it, managing it, and all that stuff. The principles are the same. Maybe you live in a different part of the world. It's different kind of currency, but all of that principally is the same. And I think one of the best resources for timeless wisdom around money is in the Bible. It's one of the oldest documents that we have. Even just looking at it from a secular point of view, it's got a lot of good stories and good wisdom and good principles that have never been changed, and they're not outdated. So why not look at these resources that work? They've always worked. So when you look at, some of the, there's many premises in the Bible, but one of the basics is peace, hope, and love. New Testament talks a lot about that. And the greatest of these is love. So if you think about in your life, the things that you want in it and the things that you don't want in it, ultimately, the relationships that we want, the wealth that we want, the business we want, the impact on humanity that we want to have, the legacy we leave for our children and our families. When you think of all those things, being healthy, what is it really that we get when we have those things in our life? And it usually boils down at some level to peace, hope, and love. And if you look at the places in the world where they don't have that, when it shows up, it's transformational. When peace shows up in a region that doesn't have it, there's unrest all the time and all of a sudden it's peaceful, the place takes off. When there's hope, you see people that just have no way to get money, no way to get food, no way to support their families or even survive a lot of times. When that shows up, when hope shows up, it's transformational. When love shows up, it's transformational. So peace, hope, and love, I think there's something to that. As simple as it is, it can go really deep. So when we're looking at this from a financial perspective, what would bring peace to your family? What would bring peace financially to your household? Well, if we don't have debt, it stresses me out to wonder if I can pay the bills on time. Am I going to run out of money before I run out of month, right? What would it be if I didn't have debt? If I didn't have this ends that don't meet experience every month or every quarter? If there was just enough money to do my life, that would be peaceful, right? If that showed up. It would be peaceful if you didn't have to stress over paying your bills on time. So maybe you have enough money, but it's just stressful to get the bills paid and make sure that, the taxes are paid and you signed up for that thing on time and you renewed that thing on time. All of that. Peace shows up. So part of it's management, part of it is just debt strategy. And then hope. Think about what would bring hope to your family. Hope is going to be educating your kids, making sure that they have experiences like they have soccer balls and they've got piano music for their piano lessons and they get to travel a little bit. Maybe there's a trip to Hawaii or mission trips. Maybe you want them to be able to have those little tutu recitals, for dance. It costs a lot of money to be in a dance class. You pay not only for the learning, but then the recital and the outfits and the hair pieces and all of that. But what are the experiences that you want? If you've got an athletic kid and they really have promise, you're going to need more, not only sports equipment, you're going to need trainers, you're going to need coaches, pitching coach, a soccer coach, a kicking coach. Maybe they're in martial arts. That's going to require a lot of training. You're probably going to have to travel to the competitions, right, and the festivals. So having that hope for education and all those things that make life rich for the next generations, and maybe even thinking about outside of your family. How can I have an impact and a legacy outside of my family? There are causes that I care about. I want to do something for animals. I want to do something for people in other countries that just don't have enough. I want to solve a problem, a medical problem. I want to find that cure for XYZ. So sometimes our money and our passion goes into things outside of our family, but it's still bringing hope. So we got peace and hope, and then you've got love. Well, love is just about relationships, right? It's just about relationships with people, relationships spiritually. It's about that connection. It's about quality of life around relationship. So when you're doing life and you have activities in your life that you love to do, you wake up every day excited about what's going to be next, and you're doing life with people that you care about, for causes that you care about, that's love. And it takes money to do some of those things. So what do you have in your life that you can do differently or do more or better or add that would bring more love to the relationships in your life? What financial decisions can you make? What money choices can you make to bring more love or peace or hope? To me, that's a very basic principle in the Bible that can be easily translated to our financial decisions and impact our thinking and our mindsets around it. And I think it's just a great place to start for people who really haven't thought intentionally about their use of money.
That's, I don't even know how to follow that up. I mean, that's very powerful. That's just something that it's huge, the way you broke that down. So folks, thanks for watching today. Make sure that you are following Judy at judycopenbarger.com. Judy, just before I leave this question now, there's a lot that you said on this, but I'm wondering if for our folks who are just tuning in also, how would you summarize, and again, this is it, you've heard this here, folks, peace, hope, and love. That's powerful when you put those three elements together. How would you summarize what you just shared with our folks for definitely peace, hope, and love? What would that sound like, or what would that look like in a summary?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to financial management, financial, all of that. So what it might look like in activity, and then what it might look like in summary. So in activity, something like peace, not doing whatever everybody else is doing out there on Reddit, not jumping onto the Bitcoin thing, not jumping onto the gold thing because you got an email, behaviors like that are more reactive than proactive. Just don't do that. Just put on your blinders and do what you need to do. And if you need strategic planning, we can show you how to get that. But don't be manipulated by marketing. Don't be a victim to all that stuff out there that everybody's trying to do to you, rather than for you. So I don't know how I could summarize that whole thing. But, when it comes to education hope, a 529 is one of the best activities out there that you can participate in to help the next generations go to school, and it grows tax-free. Having a Roth IRA, it's another tax-free thing that you can do. So there's many activities you can do. But I think if I were going to summarize peace, hope, and love, I would just say there's a biblical principle that is timeless. And when you're looking for wisdom, it might not be open a 529 for your kid, right? Because they're 4 years old. It might be, I just need to get my mindset right, talk to my family about what our goals are. What are we trying to do while we're here on the planet? What are the big rocks? The story about you put the big rocks in first, and then the pebbles, and then the sand, and then the water. What are the big rocks in my life that I need to put in first to get the most juice out of life for me? And it's going to be different, for every person, for every family. But I think in summary, if you think about, peace, hope, and love, decisions I'm making, are they in alignment with those values or not? That's going to be a great place to start.
Excellent, folks. And you heard it here. That's another money truth moment. And this is what I love about our show, that there's so many moments of wisdom that we've shared over and over. And we're just, I think I speak for a lot of our audience out here, that we are very grateful that you've taken the time to really share a lot of this wisdom that a lot of us don't really have a clue, even where to get started, or even where who to talk to, so I'm really grateful for that. Folks, thanks again for joining us. But guess what? It's that time, that special, special time of our show when we have our Money Truth Challenge.
It's time.
What do you got for us this week? I can't wait.
Okay, here's your challenge. We talked about a lot of things, but peace, hope, and love. So this is just the basics of money reverence, respecting it, honoring it, having it bring value to your life and not put weight on your life. What do we need to do? So peace, hope, and love. So I want you to take pen and paper and write down. There's something about you look at it, you think about it, it goes through, down your neck, down your arm, into your pen, onto the paper. There's value in that process. So if you're not a pen and paper person, I encourage you to become one. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Peace, hope, and love. Biblical principles. The greatest of these is love. So how can you're going to write down 3 things and just think about them. Grab your cup of tea, grab your cup of coffee. The first thing is, how can I bring more peace to my financial world, my financial household? What could I do that equals peace with my money decisions? Same thing for hope. What could I do that brings hope? Is there something philanthropic, something charitable I can do, something with education I could do? Are there some goals I want to have around my kids and grandkids' experiences in life? What brings hope? And the third one is love. So, what can I do with my money? What choices can I make financially that will enhance my quality of life with people I care about, doing things that we love to do together? Peace, hope, and love. That's your challenge.
That's awesome. You heard it, folks. Make sure that you also tune in next week. We're here every Tuesday at 8 a.m. I want to make sure also that as you're doing some of these challenges, we would love to hear some feedback from you. We would love for you to share some of your stories as well. And so folks can definitely benefit from that also. One thing before we do leave, Judy, that I want you to also discuss in the wealth of resources that you have available at your website is your book, Money, Truth, and Life. And again, it's doing fantastic all over the different platforms and Amazon. But if you can briefly touch a little bit on that too, because that's a very valuable resource for folks.
It is, and it's a #1 bestseller. So we're all over wherever books are sold. So Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, Target. It's a bestseller there on Amazon, bestseller. And you can get the Kindle version if you like to read on an iPad or some device. You can do that through Kindle, and it's I don't even know how much money. It's less than $10. It's not very much money, like cappuccino money, right? You go get a Starbucks, or you can get a book that's going to change your life. So that you can do also on Amazon. It's Amazon.com, and you just look up Money, Truth, and Life or Judy Copenbarger. There's an author page that will link you, and you can go right there and get the book and change your life. Now, it's not just a book that you read and you go, well, that was great. I love the stories. I learned a lot. It's one of those books that you really want to put on your shelf. Don't let the size of it, don't underestimate, the power of what's in there. It's one of those resources where, you're getting ready to go do estate planning, or you have a family, or you're about to retire, or you want to help your adult children learn, basic concepts, or you just want to have a really good picture of what's next for you financially. This is the book that you will resource and go back to. So it's fine if you go Kindle, but I think it's one of those kind of bedside or on the shelf books that you're going to want to look at every time you're ready to go into a meeting with your accountant, your investment advisors, your insurance agent, people like that. When you're talking around the water cooler at work about what are you doing with your 401k? What are you doing? This book will help you get the money truth, not just what everybody out there is wanting you to believe. It gives you, there it is. It gives you the money truth. So that's the book that's available for you. I would love for you to have it as part of your resources for your family. It's not a big deal to buy, but it's available right there on Amazon. That's probably the easiest way to get it.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. Folks, we're coming to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're just following us for the first time, we're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. You get to have Judy's wisdom for 30 minutes on Tuesdays. And like I said, please make sure that you send us questions, anything that you want to have answers to while we're doing some of our shows. We'd be more than happy to respond, and definitely would love to hear from you and share out our stream with other folks. So Judy, any last parting words before we go?
No, just make it a great week and really reflect on peace, hope, and love. I wish that for you and your family.
All right, folks, have a fantastic week. We'll see you guys next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Take care. Bye, Judy.